Hi everybody, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant, and we are here today to continue talking about the Pentacles cards. This is our last video on the Pentacles cards, and this will cover the Pentacles court cards. Before I do that, I did want to mention that I know that I'm getting a lot of questions in the comments, and that is great. I read all of your comments and they're fantastic, and the questions are also great. And what I'd like to do is answer a bunch of questions in an upcoming video. So if you have questions, please feel free to put them into the comments and I will try to the best of my ability to answer them. I also wanted to mention that my fuller website will soon be up and running and I'll be taking new clients, so look forward to that. I'll mention that in the video that's coming up, so if you're interested in a reading, that will be available as well. So let's get started with our last group of Pentacles cards. Now, as you know, page cards are all about new beginnings, and this Pentacles page is no different. As you can see in this Pentacles card, the figure, the page, is standing in this kind of lush grass with flowers blooming. In the background, you can see a recently plowed field that's like speaks to abundance and the harvest. And this is about the harvest of knowledge, about the growth of all things relating to physical things and the physicalness of the world. So think of this page card as he gazes at this pentacle, this symbol of all things tangible and earthly, as somebody who's enamored of the world and the beauty and the goodness and the many things of the world, and is ready and willing and anxious to begin studying some portion of that, to begin gaining knowledge that can help him grow in the world. Now, as with any card, the page card, and you can think about this as we go through the other cards, this page card can have a shadow element to it. And in this case, it can be a fixation with money and things, being overly concerned with money and things. But also it can be that idea of a study that is so intense, that is so focused, and sometimes narrowly focused, that you miss some of the other joy and beauty that can be found in the world. So that's a shadow aspect, but in general, this is such a positive card about excitement, about study, about gaining knowledge, about starting new things, about these ideas that inspire us to bring forth new things into the physical world. All right, so now we have this Knight of Pentacles card. And isn't this an interesting card? Because as we know, Knight cards are all about action. Knight cards are about putting into motion the things that we have been thinking about, idealizing, dreaming about. But look at this Knight. He is holding the pentacle, again, like the page card, but he's not like staring at it like the page is. He's focusing sort of above the pentacle. He's looking less at the ideal and more at the task ahead. He's on this plow horse. If you think back to the Wands card and the horse rearing up in that card, and you'll see in other Knight cards coming up the various horses, they're so action oriented and they're so like charging onto the scene. And in this Pentacles card, this very earthly card, you get the figure on a plow horse. The Knight is on a plow horse. He's this sturdy, steady, plodding horse. And that is what this Knight is all about. This Knight is about work, about focus on task. He's non-complaining. He is the put your nose to the grindstone card. And his horse and his demeanor and his focus not on the money itself, but in the task at hand, all speaks to that. So this knight is very sensible. He's very disciplined. He's hardworking, industrious, all those very capable and positive things that we think of when we think of getting something done, of asking for someone who will help us get something done, of the positive aspects of work. Now, I did want to mention too that, as I have in other videos, and especially when we talked about the Knight of Wands, I often get these Knight cards when people that I'm giving readings to are asking about romance. And, you know, it is this idea of a knight in shining armor. So you have these different aspects of that. And often I will get this card for people who have asked about romance. And it is coming. It's in the future. It's positive in that respect, but it does speak to this slow movement, this sort of plodding movement. Sometimes, I've gotten this a few times, when it's talked about people who are friends at this stage or who will be friends, and then that friendship slowly blossoms into a romance. So as with all the cards, with every single card, there are different aspects to it that can come up in different types of readings, because this could very much, and maybe even you would think more likely, come up in a reading about work or job or study or something like that. But it does come up in all these different questions. That's what the cards are, so incredibly versatile. You know, they can come up and answer all these questions in ways that you would never suspect just from knowing the basic meaning. But keep that in mind. And then again, this is where your intuition will kick in, because if you happen to get a Pentacles card, a Knight of Pentacles card, but your client is asking, or yourself, you're asking about romance, that could very much be what this is about. It's this idea of slowly growing romance, or that idea of friendship blossoming into romance, or somebody who's coming into your life, but you know, not for a while. The good news about this is, even if, you know, your client is anxious for a romance, but it's coming slowly, is that this figure that comes in, this knight that comes in, is so reliable, is so down to earth and grounded. You know, this is a very good potential partner. So all of that can be seen as you're looking at the Knight of Pentacles cards, and as you go through and as you do more readings, you'll see more of this. You'll see more of the ways in which the cards come into readings that may not initially seem to fit with what you would consider a traditional reading of the Knight of Pentacles. But consider how very versatile the cards are, and that's what makes them such a great tool in accessing our intuition and in communicating with our higher selves and our guides and the universe in general. So now we have this lovely Queen of Pentacles card, and just look at it. I mean, it's a lovely, wonderful card. You just like this Queen of Pentacles, don't you? As you can see, she is sitting on her throne, which is outside in nature, and she's holding onto her pentacle with two hands. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, in fact, it doesn't really mean at all that she's like greedily hanging on to her pentacle like we saw on the Four of Pentacles, right, with the Miser card, but rather that she has sort of dominion over her world, that she has found a place in the world where she is in control. She has what she has wanted, what she has worked for. This card is very much about abundance and appreciation of the world, abundance in the world and appreciation of the world. Now, as you can see, her throne sits outside. she has this literal fruitfulness. The rabbit, you can see it at her feet, symbolizes this. And this can literally be about fertility. But it's also about like this spiritual fertility, the way she relates to the world, the way that she appreciates and understands the world. And this Queen of Pentacles speaks to that love of life with a control of your circumstances, so you're not lost in worldly things, but rather you appreciate and love them and have worked hard to be in a position of understanding, abundance, and clearly joy. This queen wears the red and white that we last saw in the Magician card, where the magician has this sort of dominion of the spiritual and the earthly, and she shares that. She has the yellow in the card, you know, the yellow, the sun yellow, and then these red and white clothing, which speaks to her sort of dominion and abundance in the earth. She's clearly worked for what she has. She's the person that people come to. She's the matriarch, right? She can offer advice because she understands so many things. She's also hardworking. You know, her abundance has come through work. And as the Pentacles so often speak about work, and this can often be about like a working parent figure, or, you know, this maternal or a grandmotherly figure even that has this wisdom and understanding of life, but also takes joy in life. As you can see with the abundance around her, this figure is very much about not only appreciating the things we have, but caring for them, sort of cherishing the things that we hold dear, and taking care of them, and appreciating them by showing respect for them. So it's this lovely figure of all of the good things that the Pentacles can represent. And it has this also, you know, comes forth as the Queen, so it has this nurturing and loving aspect to it. Not that the King can't be loving, but the Queen always, the Queen figures, these feminine figures always have the iconic feeling of nurturing, mothering, of like an unconditional love. In this case, an unconditional love for all things physical and all things in the physical world, including ourselves, including our families and friends, our animals, nature, all of those beautiful things that the world offers us. Now remember how I mentioned the Queen of Pentacles holding on to the pentacle in her lap with both hands in appreciation for all the things that it represents? Well, look at this King figure. He's just sort of, you know, casually holding on to his pentacle. That's because of his confidence, his mastery over these things, over all things that he has achieved, that he has worked for, that are represented in the pentacle, which is all things earthly. Now, this figure is, you know, it's not a stern figure, as we'll see coming up in a couple of other King's cards. He's simply confident. And he's almost, you know, quite casual in that confidence. It's like a natural outgrowth of everything that he has worked hard to achieve. And he appreciates things, and he appreciates people who appreciate things. And he's you know, he lives the good life. This is a lot about the good life. As you can see, he's on his throne in nature, as the Queen was, but behind him you see his castle. You know, this is the things, the earthly things that he has built. He is in a a leadership role, often within the family or business or community, whatever it is. And it can mean, you know, many different things for your clients as you read. But it's this idea of being in a position of leadership. It can be a position of power, but again, he is not this stern, overbearing figure unless, you know, it's that shadow aspect. That can be this sort of someone who holds money dear or lords it over people and stuff. Although honestly, you might be more likely to get that sort of feeling, that sort of shadow aspect with another card, in particular, you know, like the Six of Pentacles. You can see that on his throne and around his throne, he's got these bull heads, these bull figures, and that has to do with Taurus, which the energy of Taurus, which is very much, as you know, about security, about, you know, hard work, about building home, and those kinds of things. There can be that element in Taurus of stubbornness. A lot of times people will say that, but, you know, that's a lot about being determined to forge your way in life and build something in life. And that's what this king has done. You can see also in his hand he holds the scepter. And we last saw this scepter in the Empress card. And in that Empress card, it talks a lot about the spiritual, sort of bringing the spiritual to the earth. And she sort of holds her scepter aloft. And in this figure, in this King of Pentacles, his scepter he's holding, you know, down toward the earth. And that talks more about his mastery of this earthly realm. So this figure you'll often get, sometimes it'll talk about people's, you know, bosses or the things that they've achieved or the goals that they have. And it's a very positive and powerful card. This is a powerful figure and a powerful card. But it's in general, and again, it depends so much on the cards around it and the person that you're reading for and the question that's being asked. But in general, this is a card that is very positive. It's almost laudatory, but it can also just speak about an individual. And it tends to be about an individual who is wise rather than overbearing. And it speaks to someone who has accomplished many things in life in a way that has come through hard work, through determination, and through a growing understanding of the important things in life. So that's why this card can be so positive when it comes about in a reading, because it speaks of so many inherently good qualities and the person that may possess them, or the goal that a certain person might have. And sometimes, you know, this isn't even speaking about a person in particular, but more about a situation or about goals or about ideals sometimes when people are asking about the future. But again, it depends on many other factors, your own intuition being the guiding factor, but also other cards around it, the question that's being asked, the circumstances, and the client themselves. So just like that, we have finished the Pentacles cards. I hope you'll come back and learn more about tarot, particularly about the Cups and the Swords cards. We'll get to those next. And I hope you'll come back and just learn more about doing tarot readings for yourself and for others, and about other topics as well. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Bye-bye for now.